What is up, everyone? We are back again with our Chel Stars podcast. We got a great show for you tonight, or this morning or afternoon, whenever you're listening to it, on your morning commute, your afternoon lull, or your evening wind down. We got a good show for you in store. We're going to talk a little Canucks update. We're going to talk a little Avs recap with our insider, Kyle. And then we want to talk a little bit about our most overrated and underrated players. This has been always a good discussion, and it was requested by some of our listeners. So we're going to kind of talk about who we think is overrated and underrated throughout the league, players currently and some players from the past. I think it'll be a good discussion. And then we'll hit our trivia segment. Thank you, Kyle, for always supplying the great trivia questions for us. And then we'll give you the next fan question on our Instagram page after that. So we got a good hour ahead of us. Unfortunately, we are missing our good friend Mikey, who's at the Canucks game tonight, enjoying a good Canucks win. So there you have it. Let's get started right into our Canucks news. Canucks win 8-5. Again, it did not come easy. What a third period. I just finished watching myself. I think I got home to watch it in the third period. It was 3-0. No, sorry. It was 3-2 when I got home. It finished 8-5. What a wild third period filled with a lot of goals. We got a Kuzmenko hat trick. I was impressed by Pettersson's play. I only watched the third period there, but he was flying, making some great passes. Max, you watched the full game tonight?
Yeah, Aaron and I were, thankful enough to be able to watch it after, I believe it was Tuesday's game. We'll get into that a bit, but that was on the channel, unfortunately, I did not get. But yeah, was able to watch the game tonight. It was an eventful one, as you said, 8-5 finish, multiple 2-goal leads that were cut down to 1 on numerous occasions, and not the greatest defense, not the best goaltending. I'm gonna say by Gibson. A few questionable ones in there, but overall, I mean, win's a win. We'll take it. Great night with Kevin Bieksa being retired on a 1-day contract, which is cool. So, Aaron, do you have any thoughts on the game?
Yeah, pretty much the same thing. I mean, obviously it's probably not the way we wanted it to fully go, but again, we have to not complain too much when we get a win. The defensive side was a little bit concerning again, but also you can't complain much when you're scoring 8 goals, especially with some people that haven't been scoring as much lately, so that's good to see that sort of secondary effort. The power play looked really good, in my opinion, tonight. Just unfortunately, again, we're having some more penalty kill struggles. Those seem to be continuing.
I would say I can complain much, because even though they are scoring 8 goals, they score a goal and then they get scored on right after. And this team feels like they have no killer instinct to close the game out when they have a lead, and I think that's really distressing. Because
you really never feel safe watching, no matter what the score is.
No.
Yeah.
And what I've noticed is they give up chances, like these one-on-ones, like that Comtois goal.
Yeah.
These one-on-ones, their players are breaking in and just potting it in the net. Or the New Jersey Devils loss, all those there was a ton of 2-on-1s and odd man rushes against the Canucks.
Yeah, it's hard to say that too much of tonight's success didn't come just because of Anaheim overall not playing that well. And like Max mentioned, Gibson letting in a few weak goals obviously didn't help. It could easily have been a much closer game and or a loss for the Canucks.
I mean, I think if they play a stronger team, yeah, that's a loss. Ducks are right below us in the standings, which is not very high up, knowing where the Canucks are. But like you said, a win is a win, and we'll take it. We'll pretty much take anything right now. Just looking at the standings, Canucks are sitting 8 points. only 2 behind Calgary. Granted, we have 2 games at hand, but only 2 points behind Calgary right now. So it's still close. Wow, Vegas has 20 points. They are 10-2.
They've had a great
Vegas
start.
is nuts.
Wow. Yeah. Huh. And Seattle is 3rd in the Pacific right now.
Yeah, it's a interesting start out. I would say for a lot of teams throughout the league. You can look at, so many teams are just below 500 that no one really anticipated, or some teams are doing a lot better. You look at over in the East, you got New Jersey off to a really hot start after going 0-2. You got Boston, who none of us really believed in. I know, Corey, you had dead last in your predictions.
I did. Yep.
So there's still time for them to tank, but I mean...
It is early, but I know we were all worried about the injuries and missing time. Marchand clearly hasn't missed a step in his return. He's been really good. Yeah, and overall are performing much above what I say we would predict, like many teams that we thought would not do too well to start the year here.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
I think just to name a few teams that are doing better than I anticipated. Winnipeg, Chicago, Buffalo, just like Philadelphia, of course, too. Just shocking. I mean, it's early on, but it's just crazy that like these teams that I thought were not capable of doing anything good are killing it.
Yeah.
Or at least playing just above 500 hockey.
Mm-hmm. And it's been weird starts too, because like I mentioned with New Jersey starting 0-2, but you also got Pittsburgh, who had a crazy hot start, but now have lost 6 in a row. You got St. Louis, who started 3-0 and now are 3-6 after losing 6 in a row today, with Binnington storming off again. That was funny to watch.
Did he storm off again?
Yeah, he kind of just shouldered it by everyone, like all the Islanders. Again,
he's such a baby.
That guy. Yeah,
So
what a guy.
quite funny. You got Washington losing 3 in a row all of a sudden. Ottawa losing 4 in a row. Then you look at the top of the leaderboard. Vegas, Boston, we just mentioned, 7 and 6 wins in a row. Islanders all of a sudden winning 5 in a row. It's been a crazy, weird start, I'd say, for the NHL. Still very early, but no one can predict this, I would say.
I'm surprised at the length of all those streaks you're mentioning.
Exactly.
Loss and win ones. That's actually kind of crazy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It is so early where if you lose a couple or you win a couple, your change in the standings is very significant.
Mm-hmm.
So it really makes a difference. But like Hal said, still very early. A long way to go.
Yep.
At the same time, that's like what 10 to 13 games into the season for each team. Like,
yeah,
if you're having a cold stretch right now, it's gonna be hard down the stretch to catch up. Like you've kind of said the entire time, Corey. Like if you're gonna lose 6 games in a row, now you have to win 6 games in a row if you want to get back to 500, which is hard to do.
Absolutely. So just closing off on the Canucks, their next game Saturday against Nashville, and then they have a back-to-back Ottawa and Montreal Tuesday, Wednesday. So that's looking at for next week. Quickly, just want a quick statement, Max and Aaron. Maybe Max, give me something they need to improve on for the next week, and Aaron, something that they need to continue that they did well from tonight.
Yeah, that's a good question. I can immediately chime in on that. I think biggest them going for the Canucks going into the next week and even just the next few months is going to be getting the confidence level back in Demko. I know he's had a very tough time, and that's not his fault at all. I mean, you can look at a few of the goals, been pretty unlucky, but I think playing in front of Demko is the number one priority, and getting that, MVP like player on back on your team and back to his full confidence. Because I know they had 2 days off from Tuesday going in today's game, and they decided to go with Martin, which really shows kind of how his struggles have been. So
Right.
Saturday, I want to definitely see an improved, structure in front of him and try and get pretty much get a win under his belt, really, and get him going. Aaron?
Right.
To chime into that, I don't think the Canucks have any other choice than to be a really structured team defensively because they don't have the defensive skill to
Well, yeah.
to hold off teams. So you're totally right that there needs to be a better structure in front of Demko.
It would also be nice to see them win with a structure and not win these like Wild West shootout.
Yeah.
It would be nice for them to have a lead and then just close it out and, shut the game down, and not being scored on with 2 minutes left, while we're biting our nails, So good.
And don't forget the penalty kill. That needs to be a lot better.
That would have been fun.
Okay. Yeah, it's still 32nd in the NHL going into tonight's game, and I believe Anaheim were 2 for 3.
And notably, Anaheim, I believe, there's 31st for their power play, and yet they still scored 2 out of 3. So
Yeah.
that's not great.
Yeah. So
So
that
that-
needs to get on a roll soon.
So that's what you had, Aaron, special teams?
Yeah, so I believe you asked me what they should continue doing.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, so I do have a much longer list for the question you asked, Max. But special teams do kind of come up for that as well. Notably, the power play, I think, has been really good to start the season. They've been moving the puck really well, getting a lot more shots, which was a big struggle last year. So that is something I think should stay the same. Obviously, the exact opposite would be the penalty kill, which I don't know what needs to change, but something really needs to change.
Yeah. I noticed, especially noticed against New Jersey, they had a play that looked like they were trying to feed Horvat in the slot. Did you guys see that?
Yeah, I believe
I think so.
he had 2 power play goals. Did he not?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And they were trying for a few times, seemed like kind of had a set play there, and kind of one time trying to get it to Horvat and one time in the slot. It seemed to work in that game, so might be if they can get that going, that would be nice too. They definitely have talented players on the power play, so if they can get that going, that would be a big boost for them.
Yeah,
So
I'm still so stuck on why their penalty kill hasn't performed better. I mean, I watched Pettersson on the penalty kill, and he looks pretty solid. He deflects so many passes. Just his ability to know what's about to happen is just so good. But
Right.
I don't know what else is happening. Is it just the structure they're playing, the positioning? I don't have an answer for that one.
I think partially it has to be due to Myers laying down half the time and not blocking any passing lanes.
God.
He really commits to the block.
He really
in
commits.
places that don't need blocks.
And I don't think I've ever seen him block one.
Yeah.
He's such a long body too. Once he's down,
And he
it
does
takes
not use
forever. And he takes out he'll just take it. We've seen him just take out his own teammates, right? Covers the ice. Oh gosh. But okay, so they play Nashville, Ottawa, Montreal, and all those teams are in the lower half of the standings. So this is a good opportunity for them to string some wins together. Knock on wood, because I feel like I've already said too much now. I'm gonna leave it at that, and hopefully they play 3 games until our next show. So hopefully we have some good news. Kyle, let's go to you. Let's get a quick Avs update from them. Our reigning Stanley Cup champs, looks like they're at about 500 right now. What can you tell us about their performance lately?
Yeah, it was a rough weekend for the Avs for sure. I watched the better part of both games, and it was pretty frustrating. First playing New Jersey. I mean, New Jersey's doing unreal, but not being able to score at all on Vitek Vanacek, and not even being able to create a lot of chaos in the Devil's zone was absolutely brutal to watch. So nothing great really from that game. I think it was like all around not the best team performance, or individual performances on any front. And then the game that the game that really pissed me off was the next night against the Islanders, being up 3-0 halfway through the game, and um, if things are looking pretty smooth, Isles score one goal. It's just a huge missed defensive zone coverage at the point. Lets a defenseman walk in and rip a shot. Again, another battle for the 3-2 goal in front of the net, where one Islander outbattles four Avalanche defenders, and pokes a puck under the goalie. Tying goal, long shift. All the Avs players are just dead and not able to stop a backdoor pass, and then just another unlucky play for the go ahead goal for the Islanders, to see the Avalanche's lead falter. I think the nice thing though, like going into the season, our biggest doubt was goaltending. With Georgiev being a backup last year, we were kind of concerned that he wouldn't be able to handle the entire load. But so far he's been awesome. I'm sure he'll go through a tough stretch later this season, but for now it's pretty awesome. It's the backup Francouz, who was unreal in the playoffs last year, that is currently definitely playing himself into a backup role instead of splitting the starts. So that's tough to see. Overall, like the games last weekend from the Avalanche, I just saw a lot of not winning puck battles, not driving play, not using your teammates, just trying to do it yourself and be the one to make that big play. Lack of effort, lack of purpose.
Right.
And Makar and McKinnon just not playing up to their potentials.
Right.
So,
So-
Kyle, just going back to special teams for a second here. I'm just looking at Colorado's stats to start the season. Obviously, I haven't really watched any Avalanche games, so I'm curious what your opinion is here. So they are ranked first currently for power play. No one's really surprised about that. But they are 30th for penalty kill at the moment. Is that something that you've noticed throughout the game's been a big struggle?
Oh, absolutely. And it's they'll take stupid penalties, like stupid like slashes or too many men, stuff that just doesn't need to happen. And then they're on the penalty kill, and all of a sudden, like other teams are just like walking them around the zone and just creating great opportunities. It's kind of tough because I think the only player that was on the Avs penalty kill like forward wise last year was Cogliano, and the rest have all kind of changed. So I think they just need to figure out like that structure and stuff. So I think that's the biggest thing is just the penalty killers getting used to playing with each other.
Yeah, that's fair. So they just basically need more time, essentially.
They need more time, and then also Colorado's defense is very offensive.
Mm.
So players like Makar, even though he's a good defensive player, he wouldn't be good as like a Charlie McAvoy. Obviously, like McAvoy's one of the best defensive defensemen in the league, but like he's just not as prone to like good defense as other players are. And like after like because our first defensive pair is obviously Taves and Makar, and then after that, like you either have like Gerard or Bowen Byram playing on the second unit with Eric Johnson or Manson. So it's kind of tough because both those guys are young and offensive and just not up to snuff defensively either. But I'm not too worried. My guess on what happened last season is the boys had a fun weekend in New York after their big win against the Rangers, and had a couple group nights out before their Europe trips. So I don't think it's going to become too common of an issue, but it's just an ugly couple games to watch right before they didn't get to play for like 5 or 6 days because they're over in Finland right now. So
Right.
yeah.
So that's an odd back-to-back. A 1-0 followed up the next day by a 5-4, both one-goal loss. Like that's frustrating for as a
Very.
team to watch them not score a goal, lose 1-0, to score 4 and still lose by a goal the next
Just
day.
score 3 and then give it up.
Oh, can you just what were you saying about the goalies again? I know so Francois I played against Francois, sorry. Played against the Devils, and then Georgiev against the Islanders. Georgiev faced a lot more shots against the Islanders.
Yeah.
Sorry, could you say your comment about the goaltending again?
So
Go ahead.
So at the start of the year, like our issue, our concern, like the Avalanche fan base as a whole, was like our goalie situation with both of them not ever carrying a huge NHL load before.
Yeah.
So we were worried about if somebody would grab the starting job or if it would be like a split all season because either both of them are playing decent or both of them are playing terrible. But I found that Georgiev has been able to steal games and make it more timely saves than Francois has been able to this season. Francois hasn't played bad per se, but it's just not. He's not the goalie that he wasn't. He's not playing like he was last year. So
Okay.
yeah, especially in the playoffs, right? Francois went like 6-0 and basically held the Avalanche in it while Kemper had that eye injury against Nash.
Right.
So
I recall that. Yeah. Okay. Well, they do have a back-to-back Friday, Saturday in Finland against Columbus. So I'm sure we'll see dual starters in those games.
yeah, we definitely will. Obviously, like you're talking about, global series. So they're playing a couple games in Finland, both Friday and Saturday at 11 a.m. So
Nice.
great timing.
Well, it'll be like Saturday morning game. Don't know about tomorrow, but
Yeah, I don't think the viewership on that one's going to be very high.
Yeah.
all good. Okay.
I'll be
What's that?
I'll be able to catch a first period, then I got to go to work.
Yeah. Great. Thanks, Kyle. Okay, that concludes our weekly update. I'm going to hand it over to Aaron for our next segment here.
Awesome. Thank you, Corey. So now we're going to get into our most over and underrated players. So similar to how we've ranked players in the past, we each have one pick of each. We'll just go through and let's do our most underrated first. Just give us your player, your reasoning, and we'll see if we all agree with you. Let's go over to Kyle first. Give us your most underrated.
Perfect. So my most underrated player has really broken out the past few years and still pretty sneaky even to this day. My most underrated player is Jesper Bratt in New Jersey. Obviously, I'm pretty big proponent of a lot of the Jersey players. Huge fan of Hughes, huge fan of Sharon Govich, and Bratt is having a great last couple of seasons too. Basically, point per game last year, which was so under the radar. And this year he's just had one of the hottest starts in the league. Really driving play really well for that team, and already outplaying their contract, the 1 year, $5.5 million contract, I think. So I got to say it was really smart of him to only sign a 1 year deal because he's going to demand way more money this upcoming off season.
Yeah, he's gonna demand a lot.
That was a real bet on yourself contract. That was unreal.
And it seems to be absolutely looking like a great bet on himself, really.
Yeah.
Yeah. I legitimately had no idea he was point per game until last year, until I just looked it up, and he led the Devils in points last year.
Yep.
Wow. As a winger too, which is not always common.
Not very, eh? Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot less touches, a lot less freedom around the zones.
Yes, very good pick. We'll be watching him this year, especially if Devils have a good year, which we're kind of thinking they will. He'll definitely have a good contract here. Good pick.
Gotta say as well, I just picked him up off the waiver wire in fantasy, so
Yeah, I would have. It's a good pick.
I thought so too.
Awesome. Well, let's head over to Max now. Give us your pick.
Perfect, thanks, Aaron. I had trouble picking because I think for underrated, I think a lot of us could have easily picked so many other names. But I'm going with one that I've had in fantasy in the past, and he's just always been super sneaky, and that is Rupe Hintz of the Dallas Stars. Pretty much ever since the 2020-21 season, he's been basically a point per game player. He's been battling injuries, especially that season I just mentioned, where he only played 41 games, but he had 43 points, and that was his pretty big breakout season. I remember in fantasy, he would basically play a game and then sit a game. He'd just go on off, basically, and next season I made sure to target him, hoping for a healthy one, and he did. He had 72 and 80, and he's been a absolutely pivotal part of that top line with Robertson and Pavelski, which is easily one of the best lines in the league, and I don't think that whole line gets enough recognition. So I'm gonna almost just say that whole line is underrated.
Nice.
Nice. All right. Well, Corey, once again, you have picked somebody who's not a current player. Not that any of us are surprised, I don't think. Why don't you give us your pick?
Yeah, I went with a retired player. Now this topic actually was brought up to me by one of my friends, Reese. So Reese, I'll just shout you out here. We had a good discussion the other day about this very topic, and he had me guess this player, who is 5th in all-time points in the NHL. And I'll give the listeners a chance to think about who they think it is. In terms of all-time points, obviously we have Gretzky, Yager, Messier, Gordie Howe, and then sitting in number 5th is Ron Francis, who I had for the most underrated player. I'll admit, it was a little bit before my time, so I never really watched Ron Francis. This is kind of a more a pick that I've heard kind of through our older generation of hockey fans. He's 5th all time. He's won 2 cups with Pittsburgh and a pivotal role on that team. Played for Pittsburgh for a number of years and just consistently had a number of great years points-wise. One of the more dominant players and consistent players as well through his era. And his name does come up when I hear talks of underrated players frequently. But, you know, you read some of those names, and I feel like he gets kind of glazed over a lot when you below him are maybe also underrated, Marcel Dion at number 6. But then you hear other names like Yzerman, Lemieux, Sakic, who we are very familiar with. But he played 1,731 games, 1,798 points. So that is a lot of games. That is a lot of points. Good for 5th.
Holy smokes!
I didn't know he played that much. Holy.
Yeah, how many seasons is that?
That is, I can count them. 1, 2.
Yeah, sure, go for it. My question, like, not that any of us would have the answer to it, but I'd love to know, because Corey was saying, like, this guy's before his time, this guy's before all of our time. Who does Ron Francis most resemble now in the current game? Like who did he play like?
Holy.
I'd love to know. So then I can kind of get an idea of, like, okay, this is like this is Ron Francis, and he compares to, like, this player.
That's a great question.
Yeah, which none of us would have the answer to, but yeah.
You know who might have the
But
answer, though?
Oh,
well, yeah,
Pat has the answer.
yeah. Pat.
yeah, that's a good question to our listeners to chime in. And Reese, if you're listening, that's a good question for you to let me know. Yeah, Ron Francis played for the Hartford Whalers for the first decade of his career, then played for Pittsburgh in the 90s, where he won a couple cups, part of that team with Yager and Lemieux. So maybe that's one of the reasons he's a little underrated. He kind of played maybe third fiddle to that team a little bit, and then finished his career in Carolina and actually played 12 games for Toronto in his last year, oddly. And is currently the general manager of Seattle Kraken.
And
Right?
sorry,
Is
Corey, did we
Ron
get the
Francis
season
an
count?
underrated GM?
Possibly. I mean, that would just add to his underratedness.
Sorry, Aaron, I think I cut you off.
Yeah, sorry, you were listing all those teams, Corey, but did we ever get the total seasons that he played?
Oh, yeah. 25. But that last, 24.
Wow.
Because,
okay.
he got traded. Sorry, he must have been traded to Toronto.
Either
At the
number
end?
is insane.
Yes, he was traded to Toronto at the end. So it looks like 24. 23, actually. Sorry, 23. He was traded from Hartford to Pittsburgh.
This is the most reliable stat, I guess.
Yeah.
This is what you
Yeah,
get when
and
you
then he-
research during a podcast.
Yes, live. And he also coached Carolina from 2009 to 2011 as a assistant coach.
Wow.
So he's a 3-time Lady Byng trophy winner, a 1-time Selke, and 1-time King Clancy.
Jeez.
Yes, and 3 100 plus points. 100 plus points.
Wow.
Okay.
So I'm reading through like I don't know, I found some old article from 2014 that's modern day Ron Francis. And I mean, people are saying a lot of dumb stuff in here like Mikko Koivu and like players like that, which obviously don't even compare. But the one that sticks out is like a more offensively talented Patrice Bergeron. And I'm curious how accurate that is. Or maybe like a Datsuk kind of player. So I'd love to hear how accurate that is.
Yeah.
Anyways, moving on. Aaron, you got an underrated?
Yeah, so I'll give you the last underrated player here. So my pick was Slavin from Carolina. I think he's mainly underrated just because for most of the big defense we see in the league, the big talk is always their points, obviously. Like you see, they get a lot of recognition for being offensive, but Slavin is really a pure defensive defenseman. He doesn't get a lot of points, but he is so reliable in his role. He plays a lot of minutes every night. And I think just because he has that more defensive role, he doesn't really get a lot of credit for what he actually does for the team. But as we know, what he is doing does make a huge difference when it comes to producing those kind of scoring chances, even if he isn't per se a part of them all. And I know, Max, after I announced this was my pick, you immediately came back with, this was my pick too. So give me your opinions on him as well.
I mean, I think whenever I think of the most underrated player, immediately I'd like to kind of look towards the defensemen of the league, especially defensive defensemen, because they just don't get enough talk. I've mentioned this before about the Norris Trophy, I believe, when we were predicting it, but it always seems to go to someone with a lot of points. Not to say that Makar or Yossi last year weren't good defensively, but you just don't get that same recognition to players such as Slavin, and they're just so underrated. And you pair him with this year with the Brent Burns, who is just a pure offensive defenseman, and you're already seeing a lot of rewards there.
That's true. That's a really good pairing.
Yes. They dominate 5-on-5, and like Aaron mentioned, he plays all situations lots of minutes, and he's on a steal of a contract. I honestly don't remember if I did mention him as my best contract when we did that episode long ago, but he was definitely one of them. If I
For sure up there with the rate the defense are going at nowadays. Yeah, he's one of those guys that, like, stat-wise, if you just look at him on paper, he doesn't look like he's that good, but it's because he doesn't produce as, like, a quote-unquote good fantasy player would produce. I mean, he's, in our league, just to give you a reference point, he's ranked 447th right now.
Jesus.
So you look at him and you think he's doing terrible, but if you actually watch him play, you just see how much he actually does on the ice. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah, I think it seems like every successful team always has that one usually underrated defensive defenseman that, doesn't get a lot of points, but they're out there blocking shots, shut down, penalty killing. Yeah, all those little things for sure. And I think, all the kind of the cup winners or the successful teams have a guy that does that.
And I think one thing that's important to note as well is even though he's like eating pucks, banging bodies, and super good defensively in his own zone, he can still transition the puck up the ice. Not that he's getting a lot of assists off of it, but he can still move the puck well enough to like create offense for his team.
Yeah.
Yeah, good breakout.
Like
basically.
down the ice. Yeah. Which a lot of good defensive defensemen, you don't necessarily get that, right? Like if you're like Radko Gudas blocks a ton of shots and hits a bunch, but he's not going to be able to break the puck out the same as Slavin, and that's going to separate them a lot.
I think that's one of the reasons why Tampa Bay picked up Ryan McDonough years back to kind of fill that role.
Yeah, absolutely. Because McDonough's not on the points sheet too much, but he has no issues transitioning the puck up ice when he has to. So
of course,
point there.
And then moving him into Tampa.
Sorry, Claire. I think the value of having that combo of, like we talk about Burns, Slavin, the offensive defenseman, is kind of underrated. Like at times, like Kyle, you go back to Colorado, how most of their top defense are all very offensive defensemen. Like you think if you could put some sort of Slavin-esque player in with Makar, if that would make
like Devon
how much
Taves?
stronger that would make him. Is he? Well,
I was just gonna say Taves.
I mean, Taves gets a lot of points. Like,
yeah, but he's that defensive-y guy that goes with Makar.
Yeah, I don't know. He seems a lot more offensive.
Taves is much more defensive, but I think he also has a lot more offensive flair than Slavin, which is why he can mix in a bit more points there. You're totally right that like if Taves was a little bit better defensively, I think that would change up the entire dynamic and maybe even allow Makar a bit more freedom. But
that's a pretty good mix to have.
Yeah, but I'm very happy with Taves, and I wouldn't trade him for the world.
I mean,
Definitely.
God no.
Colorado also scored a ton last year, so just playing a lot of minutes, you're gonna get assists either way.
That's so true. Yeah, if you're putting the puck up ice to McKinnon, Rantanen, Makar, you're gonna get points. Which is kind of interesting that Slavin doesn't get those points, but yeah,
he did have a decent year last year, 42 and 79. So I mean, there you go.
42 points, most of them assists.
Most of assists. I think he only had like 4 goals, but I'm sure he just gets so many secondary assists just by, like you guys mentioned, just good breakout plays.
Plus
just giving the puck to Aho up the middle, and then Aho pops it out to the winger, and off they go.
Yeah. Just sit back and relax.
Yeah, sit back and play your defense like a pro.
So why don't we move into our most overrated players here? So we'll start with Kyle again this time. So Kyle, give us your most overrated player.
Good stuff. I think I'm probably gonna go a bit harsh on this guy because he only had one good season. But I mean, you score 52 goals, and all of a sudden you are expected to score 52 goals every single year. So my most overrated going to this season and maybe into future seasons is Chris Kreider. Before last season, his highest goal scoring rate was 28 goals for the season. So nearly doubling that is insane. And he's now got a target on his back as a 50-goal scorer. So that is why he's the most overrated. I also know for a fact that he shot out of his mind last year, and he probably won't be able to replicate it.
Yeah.
So we'll find out.
And it was just like, I think that stat somewhere about him having, I think it was like 17 tip-in goals on the power play, which was like more than, like 10 more than the next person, which is just not going to happen this year.
Just can't happen again.
No.
Well, all he does on the power play, anytime I'm watching the Rangers, all he does is stand beside the net and either get like garbage goals or tip-in goals. Which, good for him, man. He's making a ton of money playing in New York, living the life, scoring 50 goals a year.
Yeah. I mean, I kind of hate that he's overrated because who's rating him over? I don't know. He had a great year. Like, I would say he's overrated because he's overperformed. I don't know.
Yeah,
I mean,
no,
he scored all these goals last year, but I think if you're smart, you would.
you'd be weary of it, right?
Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah, I know going into our fantasy draft, I knew not to look to him too early on. And I know someone's obviously going to draft him, but I didn't want him.
Thanks for the subtle diss. He's on my team. I don't remember what round I drafted him in, though. Fifth round. A little early, but
Yeah.
we'll see. I still have hope. Not for 50 goals, maybe, but a little bit better. What he's doing right now would be nice.
Yeah, he's had a rough start. I got him in one of my other leagues, and he's been nearly silent, except for the last couple weeks. He's been picking up a little bit, but yeah.
That's it.
Well,
So-
Rangers have been a little off and on as well. They've been a little inconsistent.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right, I'll move into my overrated player now. So my choice here is Patrick Laine. And I mean, he is one that has been consistently scoring a decent amount of points throughout his career, but he's never really has stood out as sort of the star player that he should be or is sort of portrayed to be. He doesn't really seem to have the ability to carry a team. Columbus as a whole isn't doing very good, but he doesn't really show that ability to take them to the next level for what I've seen. One notable stat that I thought was quite interesting for Columbus this year is they are actually ranked last on the power play right now because they are 0 for 25.
Oh.
And that is with Laine and Gaudreau on your top power play.
Oh, no.
And to me, that's just a big red flag. I don't know. I don't even know how you explain that.
That's really bad.
The only thing Laine ever really did good, in my opinion, was score goals. And now he can't even really do that. I don't know.
Yeah, we found that out when watching the Canucks
He's
game.
also only played 4 games this year because he got injured in like the first game, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. So to be fair, maybe it's not all his fault. Maybe we should talk about Gaudreau fitting in.
Johnny
No,
Gaudreau.
we won't go
That's
there.
what we should
We
talk
won't go
about.
there.
Yeah. I think Laine is kind of living still from that draft hype of being second overall, which he hasn't really lived up to. Hasn't really. Aaron, you said he hasn't led a team. Is that how you put it?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a very secondary player, like a Marion Gaborik kind of thing.
Yeah, like there's no debating he's a good player and he does have his moments where he plays well, but he just doesn't perform to what, like you mentioned, Kyle, Corey, I believe, when he was drafted, what the talk was around him. It's just never happened. And yet I still think he's mentioned a little bit too often in those top player conversations.
For sure. I mean, when he was drafted, there was not comparisons. It was like a Matthews-Laine rivalry. We all kind of knew Matthews was better, but just because they were 1 and 2, there was kind of like that McDavid-Eichel a little bit. But it's not even close at this point.
Yeah.
And he's always been a very streaky scorer. Like he'll have like back-to-back hat tricks, and then he'll just won't score for like 20 games. I'm exaggerating a little bit, but
You're also not wrong.
I
There was
don't.
one.
yeah,
I've heard that stat
yeah,
before.
right,
Stat.
Yeah, around 20.
right,
Give or
Okay.
take.
yeah,
Like 18, 19.
Yeah.
yeah.
I think in his like second season, he didn't score the entire month of like September and then or September, October, then scored like 15 goals the next month and then just like went silent again after that.
Jeez.
Like
Mm-hmm.
like I forget the specifics of it, but I remember him just like going off
I,
for like
I,
one
I
month,
do remember that, yeah.
then disappearing.
Yeah.
It's also
Yeah.
important to mention that he's a total minus 37 for his entire NHL career, plus minus wise,
Oh.
which is not ideal. I mean, he's not playing on top teams the whole time, but it's not a great stat.
Yeah, he has been known as a defensive liability
Yeah.
at times.
All right, let's move
Well-
on to our next. Oh, sorry, Corey. One more comment.
Oh, to be fair, on Winnipeg, he was only minus 1 year. It was minus 24, which is bad. But the rest, the rest of the years, he was he was on the positive. Columbus, he's been negative every year, but they have not been good.
Yeah,
So-
right, it's more of a Columbus
Also,
issue.
also to get into like more minus stuff with him, his possession quality has been awful throughout his career. Like he's very much either hemmed in the defensive zone or it's either he's like hemmed in the defensive zone all shift or he gets like one rush and that's it. Like I don't think he's a very good cycle player. It's like very off the rush for him.
All right,
Also-
Max, why don't you give us
Also-
your overrated? Okay, Corey, one more point.
Also, his flow quality is
Ooh, has
completely
drastically.
is gone this year. We have gone full buzz cut. Maybe that's what he needs. I don't know, but
And clearly the hair wasn't working.
He's gone full
Yeah.
Jesse Pinkman.
Yeah.
yeah. We'll have to check back in on the Line Hairgate later on. Yeah. Anyways, let's
All right,
go to Max.
Overrated player.
All right. I got one here, and I'll push it to Kyle in a moment. But my pick is Tyson Barrie. I think he is very overrated. I just mentioned about being, defensive defenseman. This is the pure opposite. This is an offensive defenseman who, in his first year with Edmonton, put up 48 and 56, which you might think is pretty decent. I don't have the stat here, but I do know that almost all of those points are off the power play. He mans the top power play.
And secondary assists.
And yeah, that's a good point too, yeah. 40 of those 48 are assists. It's just all top power play. Give it to McDavid, Draisaitl, they'll do something on their own. He's a defensive liability. He never gets put out there for any defensive zone face-offs or penalty kill. God forbid if he did. And he's just always, since going to Edmonton, been, every playoff outing, there's all these rumors about him them trying to trade him because, playoff wise, they want to win, but he's just not been someone they can go to. And Kyle, I know he was with the Avs for a while, so what's your take on him?
I was always a really big Tyson Barrie fan when he was on the Avalanche because he's so good at what he's good at, like moving the puck up the ice, making passes, all that stuff. This is kind of going to be a little bit off topic, but I was talking to this guy that I work with a couple weeks ago. He's Tyson Barrie's cousin.
Okay.
So
Well, I'm sorry, I just ripped into
let's
your
not
cousin.
Get too harsh.
no, it's chill. I don't know if it's chill, but he hates Makar, and it's really funny because like anytime I bring up Makar, he's like, "Oh, I hate that guy," and I'm always like, "Well, that's because he stole your cousin's job, and he does it better." So basically, Tyson's good at what he does, but he's not a good all-around defenseman, and he's definitely boosted up by playing with some of like the best two players in the world, um, and just feeding them the puck on the power play. So
Yeah.
that's my opinion. Defensively, like you just can't rely on him. Um, he's a good skater, but he's not a very big guy, and he's just not too knowledgeable about how to box players out and defend against high quality opponents.
Yeah, I think Max kind of alluded to it earlier, how he kind of gets carried a little bit by the power play with McDavid, Draisaitl. I have a very random fact here. I believe it's from last season. So basically when Barry is on the ice, when Barry's not on the ice, the entire top six of Edmonton has a higher scoring rate on 5-on-5 when Barry's not there.
Wow.
So is he
What?
really benefiting them? I don't know. I think
only
he's kind of getting benefited from being around those players. He's not really the one actually generating much.
and that's on 5-on-5.
That's
so
5-on-5, so that's not power play. We can't really argue he is really good on the power play. That's kind of his one specialty, but 5-on-5, he doesn't really seem to be all that impactful.
Yeah, and that goes pretty much with what we were saying.
I'm still taking Barry before I take Slavin in fantasy.
Oh yeah,
Oh well, for fantasy, yes.
and that'll be another
And-
topic we'll definitely get into in a future episode.
And in
Yeah.
All
hindsight,
these
and in
players
hindsight,
don't.
I would. So
Continue,
sorry,
Kyle.
Aaron, go
I
for
want
it.
to hear you.
No.
I know what you're gonna say exactly.
In hindsight, I would take Barry over Bouchard.
There you go. I knew that one was coming.
Top power play.
Anyways,
Chardin.
you were saying, Aaron. Sorry.
No,
To get
you
my
are
zinger.
good.
I guess
Self disses are
I-
good.
a good question for this would be: Is there room for having a specialist like a power play specialist as Barry on your team?
Um,
Ooh.
what's your
I
opinion
mean-
on it, Corey?
Well, I feel
'Cause-
like if they're 5-on-5 play, like how much the benefit has to outweigh the detriment, and if ideally you don't want someone on your roster that is only good at playing. I mean, how many times are you on the power play a game? Maybe 8 minutes. If they're only good for 8 minutes. But if they're
I'd say they're great for 8 minutes, and then they can be good for the other however many minutes they play. But if they're playing like 5 out of their 18 minutes on the power play, that's like that's a pretty high percentage, right? That's what, 30% of their minutes where they excel. What's your opinion, Aaron?
Yeah, I kind of have the same view as you. I think if they're that important on the power play, it would be helpful as long as it's not that detrimental on the other side. And I mean, Barry, we talk about him being a defensive liability, but he's not been like that terrible. Like he still definitely has a place on that team, like easily in a high role. So with him being that strong on the power play, I think having someone like that definitely isn't a problem to have.
well,
To chime in though, when you have McDavid and Draisaitl on said power play, I think you're gonna benefit regardless.
That's
You
the
could
thing
have
to
Max
look at, too. It's
McKinnon
like,
playing
well,
back there, and he'd still get.
Yeah.
Like, would Barry be this good on the power play on another team?
You stick him on who is it we were just talking about, Columbus? I don't think that makes them much that different.
So that will probably be my opinion changer right there. If you can put him on Columbus and he carries that power play, then yes.
Fair enough.
is Barry a top 4 defenseman on a team? Is he a top 2 pairing defenseman?
Oh, top 2.
Top 2, I don't think
no.
so. Top 4,
Like,
yeah,
no,
potentially.
he's in your top 4.
He said top 2 pairing, yeah. Or okay, I can see where the wording is confusing there. Yeah, because
Oh.
yeah, okay. Top 4 defenseman. Okay,
pairs.
anyways.
Yes. Is he in your top 2 pairings of defensemen?
For for like 50 to 60% of the league, yes. I'd say even close to 70% of the league, yes. Just because he's generating enough offense and he's moving the puck efficiently up the ice and creating rush chances. I think he is. But if you put him, I mean, even if you put him back on Colorado, would you rather have Barry, Manson, or Johnson as your fourth defenseman?
Depending who I already have.
You already have Makar, Taves, and Gerard.
Yeah,
Well,
you can't deny Barry's offensive abilities in that instance.
Yeah.
Yeah, you stick him with one of the best decors in the NHL. This question.
Sorry, that's just how I think. I've forgotten that everyone has a good decor.
Must be nice.
Oh, I had a follow-up question. I totally forget it. Oh, Corey. Okay. So Corey, your opinion is that Tyson Barrie,
Yes.
or you wouldn't bring Tyson Barrie in to be a power play specialist. You don't believe in power play specialists. You think?
Oh no, I didn't say that. Oh no, I didn't say that. I was
No?
asking a question.
Okay. Well, sorry.
I was answering my question with another open-ended question.
Okay. What's a non-open-ended question answer to that question?
I have a question. I don't know. I was asking the audience. I mean, I think a Stanley Cup winning team probably has players that can play in all situations. It would be my answer.
Okay. So if you were building a team, you wouldn't sign a player like that because he can't play in all situations. You'd go with another player that might be a little bit less skilled, but better in his own end.
Cal, it depends on how my power play is looking. If my power play is absolutely anemic, then yeah, I would probably bring in Tyson Barrie. Like if I already have Quinn Hughes, I'm probably not signing Tyson Barrie. But if my defense looks like Eric Goodbranson, then I'm probably bringing in Tyson Barrie.
So my follow-up question, again, way off topic. Sorry, guys. Face-off specialists, do you think that they have a place on a team if they are contributing zero offensively?
Oh dear.
No, if they're contributing zero offensively.
Like a Manny Malhotra, what, did he not score a goal for like an entire season one time?
Did he? Is that?
I don't know. Here, let me check it out. I remember him having very low goal totals though.
Look, a Stanley Cup winning team needs four lines that can play. So I'm not. No, faceoffs are not more important than the actual ability to play hockey. No, so I'm not bringing a faceoff specialist that provides nothing else. However,
Just to quote you, faceoff skill is not more important than knowing how to play hockey.
no, it's not. It's maybe if they were 100%, then yes, I would.
But if they're 60%?
If they're 60%, which is quite high, well, no, because if they're an absolute plumber on the ice, then no.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
Kyle's writing notes for the debate here.
Sure. I mean, yeah. No, they have to. You need guys that can play in every aspect, including face-offs. Just like I don't want to sign someone like, look, if you're gonna be 40% on the dot, you better be Nathan McKinnon.
That's true. Nathan McKinnon's terrible at face-offs.
Yeah, exactly.
He's gonna pokes at the puck.
So that's what I'll say. I mean, obviously, every is a balance of everything for sure.
Okay.
Yeah. Are you satisfied?
I'm very satisfied with that. You have no idea. Anyways, who's next?
Smile.
I think our final overrated player is Corey, again with a older choice. Let us hear it.
Yeah, do we have time for this?
Oh yeah.
How are we doing?
I want to hear it all.
I want to
Okay,
hear this.
sure. I have a few hot takes, if you will, possibly controversial. I might get some haters out there, so if you hate me, you can let me have it, I guess. But I'm going to go with two, not yet Hall of Famers, but pretty much, well, one is already an inductee, to be inductee, two Hall of Famers. I have two picks here. First one, a Vancouver Star and the leader in many of our goaltending categories, Roberto Luongo, I have as overrated. So let's talk about it. Let's get into it. Luongo, inducted into the Hall. What to say? So obviously he was, what I would say for Luongo, he was a good goalie, had a very consistent career, which means he was a good goalie for a long period of time. He was in the top tier of goalies for a long period of time. But I feel he had a few good seasons. He had 3 seasons where he was nominated for the Vezina, didn't win, but was nominated. 2004, 2007, and 2011. But he didn't win the Vezina in any of those years. So he has no Vezinas to his name. In terms of individual accolades, he shared the William M. Jennings Trophy with Schneider in 2010, 2011. And that's it, really, in terms of professional. That's it. You know, there's no, just for comparison, is Sergei Bobrovsky, will he be a Hall of Famer? He has 2 Vezinas. So he has been the best goalie in the world twice. Luongo was not the best goalie in the world any of the years he played. And personally, when it mattered most, I don't think he ever really, and I'm talking playoffs now, and of course you're going to say, okay, well, these are the Canucks performance. Yes, that's right. The goalie is part of the team. But 9 times out of 10 for Stanley Cup winning teams, for those championship teams, the goalie plays lights out. And in a lot of cases, they're the Conn Smythe winner. Or they're, one of the stars. Unless you're a Colorado that has Makar, McKinnon, Ranson, and just these absolute elite players, normally your goalie is lights out. You're a Vasilevsky or Jordan Binnington when St. Louis won, or Holtby played very well when Washington won. Just those recent years. And he never, I don't recall many series with the Canucks where Luongo stole the series. He was never better. Okay, if we want to talk about, the Canucks had some good teams. 2009, lit up by Chicago. 2010, lit up by Chicago. Now, Chicago won in 2010, and of course, yes, they beat the Canucks. They were a good team, but we kind of, there were some series where we needed a lights-out performance. 2011, what series did Luongo win? I remember barely beating Chicago. I remember Rinne playing lights out on Nashville. San Jose, we scored a lot of goals. And then Tim Thomas outplayed Luongo big time in that Boston series. And I'm very confident if the goaltenders were switched in that 20, as much as it pains me to say, hey, I'm a Canucks fan, but if those goalies were switched in 2011, I firmly believe Canucks would have won the Cup. And that's just the way it is. And then what happened after that? He basically lost his starting job to Corey Schneider following those years. And so for those reasons, I think he's overrated just because the long body of work he's had, and it's good. Hey, credit, like that's hard to do what he's done. So I think this Hall of Fame induction is kind of more of a consistency and almost his legacy, but just never really had that individual amazing performance. There was no 2014 Carey Price. There was no Jonathan Quick Stanley Cup run instances in his career. Even the gold medal, he played good. But that's where it is. He played
Played
good
in front of the best team to ever hit the ice.
Yeah. I mean, he played good. And, maybe I just have some nagging, like maybe I'm still upset over these Canucks runs, but, I think, and then just kind of the way things went down in Vancouver, he was captain and then he wasn't captain. Always kind of, there was like times I felt like kind of attitude towards the media. That's not really his on ice play, so I can't really hold that against him at all, really. That's kind of unfair for me to say, but yeah, I feel like there just could have been more, And when we talk about great goalies, even Fleury, who I would almost have a similar career, I would compare similarly with, like good, played like, had a lot of good seasons. Fleury's almost, well, he did win a Vezina recently, and Fleury played very well with Vegas. He had some of those top goaltending moments. Yeah. Or maybe I'm just salty that we were on the hook. He retired and we screwed us salary cap wise. Who knows? but
I was gonna ask if you're salty that you're one game away from winning the cup and have blame.
Well, of course. And I do believe what I said with Tim. I mean, Tim Thomas won one or two, but Tim Thomas played half the body of work in the NHL that Luongo, but had a way more dramatic. He had years where he was completely dominant. I think Thomas won 2 Vezinas, I believe. So, I guess there's, there's long kind of longevity kind of career, or there's a very, I would say Corey Schneider almost had better performances, just more short term, obviously hip injuries and things like that, because there is something to say about consistency. Of course, there's something to say about consistency, but, we were so close. We have such a good team, and you only have one goalie. You have a full roster of players. You only have one goalie, and you really need that absolute stellar performance. And unfortunately, I don't think Luongo was there to bring it.
Wow.
That was quite an emotional.
Yeah, that was very emotional, and I'm very happy that you shared that with us.
In your diary for the last 10 years.
Yeah,
Can't say I can argue with any of those points, though. For sure.
Any Canuck fan would concede.
Did Luongo ever have a bad season? Or was it either like all right or good? Because I think that's also something to look at as well.
He's played enough games. No, he hasn't had a bad season. His save percentage, the lowest it was ever, was .899. So
that's impressive. That's impressive. I mean, yeah, it's. I don't know if it's like Hall of Fame or if just based off his personality he got in there and kind of like you say, his legacy and just like Canadian goaltender is obviously always going to get like +2 points on a scale of 1 to 10. I think if he was Russian, then it would be like Hall of really good, like you were saying. Mikey, any points?
Kyle, Mikey is not here.
Did he leave? Oh, he was in here.
I don't think he's a number that the Canucks retire. Even though he holds, I believe, most of our goaltending records. which is a different conversation. Maybe we save that conversation.
Yeah, I was gonna say maybe we save
That could
that
be a
one.
long one for sure.
For another
Um,
time. And, yeah, and I think I'm gonna leave my second player for another time as well, just for time's sake.
Yeah, for sure. We'll definitely have this conversation again. I know there's lots of other players that we could have talked about that weren't mentioned today.
I think Corey can just have his own little podcast.
Special Corey episode.
Yeah, I love it.
All right, Kyle, why don't you take us into some trivia?
Perfect. Yeah, so we'll do some trivia here, and then we'll probably finish off the show pretty quick. So, touching back to Tuesday's Instagram post, the answer was, of course, Max. What was it?
It was Brent Burns,
Brent Burns.
who I think pretty much all of you in this call right now have pretty much got him.
Yes, I know Corey gets special accolades for guessing him on the hardest hint.
Yeah, that's
For some
insane. I
reason,
didn't
you
know.
knew that he owned a lot of snakes, and that's a very bizarre fact to know.
Yeah, I read it somewhere. I think it was a list of Brent Burns facts. Something he also has a Harry Potter tattoo. So
I think I remember reading that.
yeah, so there you go. Useless knowledge that I know.
I was really proud that I got it on the second hint,
Yeah.
the hard one.
Yeah, that was a good hint. The
Aaron, where did you get
draft
it?
as a forward,
Yeah, I got it on the moderate one, the Viking one. Hard to pick any other NHL player that really would embody a Viking as much as he does. So
Yeah. I kind of had it narrowed down with the snake one because I'm like, who is really weird in the league?
yeah, you know what? Like he is really the only guy that comes to mind if you think about it long enough that would own 300 snakes.
I don't know why
Right.
Shifley came to mind for me, and then I was like, no, that's goats.
Well,
Yeah,
first of all, most hockey players are just have the personality of dry bread, anyways. Like you can narrow it down. I feel like to like a handful of players.
I saw a video last week of like I think it was Hockey Night in Canada, and it was Zach Hyman getting interviewed, and the reporter was talking to the producer, and Zach Hyman just starts answering like questions.
Oh,
Like-
yes.
Like, he was like, yeah, good effort out there. Boys are fighting hard. And then the reporter turns around and he's like, I didn't ask you anything yet.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, I thought you asked me a question.
Yeah, it's a generic answer number one. It was ready to go.
Just a glitch in the matrix.
Yeah, honestly.
Okay, so let's get into player hint number one. Obviously, Corey's usually the reigning champion at this, so I'm hoping to challenge him a little bit on this, and hopefully Max and Aaron have a good guess as well. Ready to rock and roll?
Unlikely, Kyle.
Ready to rock. And
Okay.
roll.
So this is the sequence of teams that the player played for throughout his career.
Oh god.
So keep up. Kings, Senators, Hurricanes, Capitals, Hurricanes, Bruins, Hurricanes, Senators.
Oh Jesus.
Ready for hint number two?
That was a lot.
Yeah.
Holy-
Would you like me to repeat it, actually? Would you like me to repeat it?
How many teams were there?
Yeah, I hang on. I want to write it down.
How many teams were there?
Do you want me to put it in the chat, Corey? I can put it in the chat so you don't have to write it down.
Okay. Sure. And I have two ideas already.
Holy.
Okay. Okay, it's in the Discord chat.
Got it. Thank you.
Okay, I think the second hint will help you out a ton. This defenseman made it to the Cup Finals in 2007 with the Ottawa Senators and the Eastern Conference Finals in 2009 with the Canes. Any guesses?
No, I have to paint.
No, I am lost.
Okay, this is a pretty challenging one. I was happy with this one. I was very proud.
Cool. Now I have a new guess, and I think I have it.
So you got it?
Uh, yeah, I have a new idea.
Okay, sounds good. Um, Third hint. This player was a career second pairing defenseman and power play quarterback who retired at the end of the 2014 season.
I think I have a good guess. Yeah, I think I have a good guess.
Okay. Did your guess change from the last clue, or is it the same one?
It was the same one
Same one?
from like 30 seconds ago.
Okay, sounds good. Sounds good. So this one I think we'll kind of put over the top for you, Corey. Aaron, Max, any ideas at all?
No, this is really showing my lack of hockey knowledge.
Yeah, I gotta say this is a little bit early in
Let's
the
chill.
decade for me.
Yeah, it is.
I'm too young for this.
So basically, you're calling Corey old.
No. Don't do that.
That's what he
You
said.
got Mike Vernon last week, okay? No excuse. Come on.
Okay, hint number 4. He was traded at the deadline twice. The first time from Ottawa to Carolina with Patrick Eves for Mike Commodore and Corey Stillman. The second time was 2 years later from Carolina to Washington for 2 prospects and a second round pick.
Yeah, I don't got it.
You don't got it?
Oh,
Jeez.
I don't got it because my guess was Patrick Eves.
Oh.
I think is Eves a forward? I was like, shoot.
Eves is a forward, yeah.
Oh, darn it. Shoot. Not to worry. I have a few more guesses.
So that's all the hints I got, Corey. What are your other guesses?
Is it Patrick Weircock?
No.
Trick. Okay. Is it Mike Commodore?
No, because he was traded for Mike Commodore. He's a right-handed defenseman, and he had like a mohawk.
Whoa.
That even
Oh, is it Mark? No, it's not.
No.
Shoot. Get a mohawk.
He wore number 7 or 77 a lot. I don't know when you want me to tell you the answer.
Play
Unless Corey's got
quarterback.
a last guess.
Oh my god.
Power play quarterback, Ottawa. He was on Ottawa when they went to the Cup Finals. Right-hand defenseman. Always taped his entire blade, including like right to the very toe, white tape.
Wow.
these are very specific hints.
I don't
Now I know
know.
what to stop with that.
He played for the Hurricanes 3 times.
He played for the Hurricanes. Or yeah. He kept on going back.
3.
Really bothering me now. Can you give me another hint?
Oh, I didn't
Like-
prepare another hint.
Like a useful hint, not like his hair or his stick.
Oh my goodness gracious. Oh, maybe he didn't have a. What is? Oh, I need.
Oh,
Sorry, I
shit.
didn't. I didn't. I didn't prepare.
Can you give us like his first initial, or Corey? Would that be too much of a hint?
His
I mean,
initials are his initials. I can give you those.
Yeah.
His initials are JC.
Yeah, I think it's a no-go.
I don't know.
Trying to find like a highlight of something I can reference, but like he's just such a random player that he just doesn't have a lot of highlights.
Why don't you give us the answer, Kyle?
No. One more hint.
Oh,
One more
I,
hint.
I don't know if I have another hint. I'm just not.
Something really easy that I can get.
Kyle just want, or Corey, do you just want another point next to your name on the score sheet, don't you?
No, I won't take a point. I don't. I want to get it. That's all. What's his first name?
Joe.
What?
Joe.
Oh.
If you didn't get it from that, you're never gonna get it.
No, yeah, that's definitely not.
Okay, so the answer is Joe Corvo.
Buddy, Joe Corvo was never a power play specialist.
Yes, he was. Look at his
Joe
points.
Corvo?
Joe Corvo. He was.
Dude, what? How many power play goals did he score? What was his best power play season?
His best
I'm
power
looking it
play
up right
season,
now.
points wise. Points wise.
Yeah. What was it in junior? Like, was that when he was a power play specialist?
28 points was his best year, and that's over half of his points.
Dude, his best year, he got 40 points. That was his best year.
I remember him being good on a power play for a couple of years.
I'm so mad at you right now.
You don't like the. How about you make
Dude,
some for a change, Corey?
I will. Oh my gosh.
You don't be mad about it.
Dude, I never picked a Joe Corvo in a fantasy pool in my life.
That's because he's always on shit teams like Carolina.
I can't believe you.
I'm so sorry to disappoint. You're making me feel like my efforts are unappreciated.
No, fine. It's good. Yeah, no, I admit I did not get Joe Corvo. Shame on me.
I don't even want to do my second one.
No. Is this harder than this one? This one was hard.
Yeah, Jesus.
That one was really hard. This next one's easier.
Oh.
All right, fire away.
Yeah. So this is a bit older era, but at the same time, like this player played for a while. So, this is our Pat question technically, but I think everyone could probably have a good guess at this. First hint, this player was drafted twice, first by Montreal in 1994 and again in 1998 in the expansion draft.
No.
Thanks for specifying that time.
Yeah, no worries. No worries. Second hint, this player's last season was spent stealing the starting job from Fleury in Pittsburgh. He would have to retire the following season due to ongoing blood clots.
Oh, shit.
Can you repeat that?
Second hint was this player's last season was spent stealing the starting job from Fleury in Pittsburgh. He would have to retire the following season due to ongoing blood clots. No
Okay.
guesses. Okay. Ready for the third hint? Or do you have a guess?
No.
No, got it?
No.
Third hint. This goalie is the second most winning Czech goalie in NHL history.
Oh, I got it. Yep, I got it.
Max,
I was
Aaron, any guesses?
Definitely not.
Yeah, no.
What were you trying to remember, Corey?
No, I was thinking of him. I just couldn't remember his name. And then
Fair
when
enough.
you said Czech, I got his name. I got it.
Perfect. Fourth hint for the people in the back. This player also spent time with Washington and Florida, where he was on the wrong end of a Keith Ballard swinging stick in frustration. This player suffered a lacerated ear as a result.
I think I got it.
Aaron?
No, this is
Anything?
too old for me, Kyle.
No, that's chill. That's chill.
I have it just off that clip, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, Corey?
Yeah. It is Thomas Vokoun.
Perfect.
That was mine.
Yes.
Yeah.
Good one. I remember the playoffs. I remember when he stole the starting job from Fleury. He was playing in the third round for Pittsburgh against, I don't remember who, but I remember that. And of course when Keith Ballard tried to decapitate him.
That's how I know it.
Yeah. Good one. Okay, good. Thank you, Kyle.
Well,
Good redemption.
Those were two
Sorry.
ones.
I feel good.
Sorry about the Corvo one. I didn't do my research 100%. I was very confident in my power play. Because as you're looking down his stats, he has a lot more points on. No, never mind. Scratch that.
Yeah, it's okay. Don't be sorry. That's yeah, you got me there. I did not remember this player at all.
I also think that he just played on shit teams, so he just got power play minutes because of that.
Alrighty, well, I'll take the reins from here. So, pretty much concluding with this podcast, I'll just go over last week's fan question where we asked, will Bruce Boudreau be the head coach of the Vancouver Canucks next year? Obviously, with his contract being up at the end of the year. And 67% of you said no. You can do the math, 33% yes. Corey, did you say yes, judging by that reaction?
I think I said yes. I can't recall actually.
Yeah, I mean, pretty close, but I think, unfortunately, I do think no, he will not be. But it won't happen during the season, that's for sure.
Is it for sure?
Well, okay,
no,
for sure.
Not.
That's not true. Yeah, they just, yeah, that's very true. Never mind. Take that back.
There you go.
Anyways, going off this podcast, I mean, there's been quite a few questions actually, thrown in throughout it. So feel free to send us your answers to those. But our main fan question for you is going to be, who is your most overrated player in the NHL? Feel free. It can be whoever you want. You can agree with ours, disagree. Corey had some pretty crazy ones there, so feel free to communicate with him about that. And yeah, so I'll pass it off to Aaron for our closing thoughts.
Great. Thank you, Max. If you've stuck with us this whole time, we appreciate it. I know we've had a few long rants this episode, mostly from Corey, but we hope those are always entertaining to you guys. As always, please go check out our Instagram at Chel Stars. We post quite a lot on there for you guys to interact with before and after episodes. We also post there when our episodes are released, so that's the best place to go to if you haven't already subscribed to them on wherever you are listening to this podcast. Other than that, we will see you guys within a week. Have a good one.